And welcome to this week's edition of Landscape Smart, brought to you by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company. Lines are open for your calls and your questions. 920-923-1450, 888-900-1450. If you choose the email route, it's kfizstudio@gmail.com. And if you can do it, send some pictures of what your problem is, and this gang of experts will be able to better identify and maybe offer you some solutions. The gang of experts I'm talking about is the one and only Ron Rademann. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Jerry.
Welcome back after a week off.
Yeah, well, that was a little bit different. I'm not used to taking time off in the summer, so...
Yeah, but good to have you back. And joining us today is Master Gardener Patty. Good morning again.
Good morning.
Good to see you as always.
You too.
And leadoff question always is Rademann's open?
Yeah, I actually even got a text through from Joe at the office, and he said they've got room for a few deliveries yet this morning, so you can, if you want to work on a hot weekend, this is a good opportunity. You can still get a delivery, some shredded bark mulch or dirt or gravel or
whatever you
decorative
need.
stone, whatever you're up for doing here this weekend or this week.
Or if you're not up for it, if it's on the to-do list and you have to do it.
Right.
Either way, you're open.
Yeah, and that's so thank you, Joe, for letting me. He always sends me a text at about 20 after 8, and I go, that doesn't do me much good. I'm not checking my phone at 20 after 8, so then I find out at 9:05 that we have room for deliveries or we're full for deliveries, and that doesn't do me much good.
Because you're here and on the air.
Right.
Yeah, and your phone is busy.
So anyway, thanks, Joe, for sending that through ahead of time today. I'm sure he gets busy too there, and it doesn't always work for him to, if he has to have a little break in the action before he can keep me abreast of what's going on. So,
But you are available.
Yep, we are available and open today, Saturday morning until noon.
So what is the topic of the week? You always have a bunch of questions that you get during the week that you like to talk about.
Well, I received several pictures from a few people this week on their trees are yellowing, and it kind of starts at the top, or it can be throughout the tree, and it's mostly problems with oak and some varieties of maple and birch, especially river birch, and it shows up here during these drought summers, and it's a iron or sulfur deficiency, and you do have to take care of it. It isn't quite so pronounced in a wetter year because the trees are able to absorb moisture from the surface, which isn't as affected. But as trees in some areas reach down and get into the subsoil, around here at least they get into a little bit of a alkaline layer of gravel, clay, and that's when that iron and sulfur deficiency shows up. And so, we keep talking and preaching water, 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 and it becomes even more pronounced or more of a problem if we have a dry year like this. And right now it's a little dry on the surface, getting drier and drier, and it's really dry once you dig down go down a foot or two into that. It just crumbles down deep like that. And so those tree roots are reaching down deeper and deeper looking for moisture. And of course, then what happens is they get into that sublayer of soil that has, this more alkalinity in it, and that creates more of a problem. So then you end up the leaves will just be kind of yellowish, and it shows up more on the top, and then it also, works its way through the tree. And you do want to treat it, because if you don't treat it, it's going to continue to get worse, and you don't always notice it so much in a wetter year. So what you need to do is, make sure your soil pH is a little bit lower. You can add aluminum sulfate or a sulfur product that lowers the soil pH, and then use iron and one of the easier ways is like a muracid type fertilizer, where you're just mixing it up in a 5-gallon pail and pouring it around the tree or a watering can, and then you want to just soak it in real good with water once you apply this. And you should water the tree first for a couple times. Water it for soak it in good, wait till the next day, soak it in again, and then maybe wait 4 or 5 days, water it again, and then apply this. Because if you apply it to a dry root system, you could do more harm than good. So, and we have the products out at Rademann's to help you do all this. So, and it's probably always best too, if you come out to Rademann's, bring a picture. And leaves don't always tell the story either, because 1 or 2 leaves don't quite show us the whole tree. So if you can send a picture close up, and 2 or 3 pictures, one real close, one at a short distance, and once a little further back, then we can make sure we're identifying the problem accurately before we start giving you Prilosec for a headache. So,
and speaking of what you're talking about, Brian has a question that might be on point along with a picture here, so I'll let you go ahead with it.
What kind of tree is that?
It looks like it might be a red cedar.
That's
juniper.
what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Some kind of cedar.
And a lot of times, what Brian did was he sent through a picture of the base of a tree, and the branches are pretty brown or yellow, and for the most part, there's no new growth coming out on it. And his question is, does it need to be watered, or should I be cutting out these lower branches that are clearly dead? And
yes and yes.
Yes and yes. I would say it's not a root system problem, because if it was a root system problem, that watering would be, then the whole tree would look like that.
Yeah.
It's probably shaded to a point where it's not getting enough light, would be my guess.
Yeah.
And that's why it's not getting any new growth. It's a little bit tricky to tell from the picture. Here we don't quite have the whole picture, and that's why, like I always say to people, send us 3 pictures, one close up, one further back a little bit, and one that I can kind of see the whole surrounding area. But in this case, I would definitely water, because watering
never going to hurt.
Never can hurt. And that's usually the first thing because you almost have to water before you can do any treatments of any kind anyway. So you start with watering, and then you can go on from there. But I don't think the picture that he sent here is a watering issue per se.
Yeah, because
And you can see some green even on the edges and up on top.
Right.
So it looks to me like it's just not growing because it isn't getting enough. It's not in enough light, enough sunlight.
When we recommend watering a tree, it's taking your hose, if you can get a hose to it, and put it on a slow trickle for 45 minutes or more. And that's the only way you can water deeply a good tree root system.
It's an arborvitae, he texted.
Okay.
Or emailed.
Okay. So, yeah, and that's what it does look like. It's just, the bottom branches and sometimes it could even be, if you have an arborvitae, a lot of times you'll even get like some mouse or rabbit damage or voles and that'll kind of do some girdling down underneath, and that's why those bottom branches die out. I'm not seeing any of that in this case, but for anybody else that happens to be listening, sometimes, a lot of times, those lower branches on your Japanese yews or especially arborvitaes, they do like those, and that's where the damage will happen there. So from girdling of the branches.
And they can also don't the deer really like them too sometimes?
Well, it could be too. It looks to me like this is almost too low.
Yeah.
Typically deer will browse more in the 2 to 3 feet up range or up and down from 2 to 3 feet. And this looks like it's more like in the bottom 18 inches or bottom 2 feet. So if it was more damaged up higher, then I would say it's probably deer browsing. And of course the deer, they eat the tips more so in the winter on evergreens. You don't have to really worry too much at this time of year, but they eat the terminal buds in the winter, and of course then there's nothing to grow come summer because they've eaten the buds off, and so then it browns up here at this time of year because they aren't getting, there's no new buds there to form new growth. So that can be a problem too when half the bottom parts of trees, evergreens especially, are damaged, then there will be no new growth the next season. So,
alrighty, well, there you go, Brian. You got some information. And with that thought in mind, we'll take our first break.
So yeah, again, Rademann's just 3 miles south of Fond du Lac, and easiest way is kind of work your way over to Highway 41 from wherever you're at, and then we're just 3 miles south of Fond du Lac, and then if you exit off on County B to the east, right there at the crest of the hill, open till noon today, Monday through Friday, till 4:30.
And we are back. Landscape Smart, brought to you by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company. Your questions will be answered by Master Gardener Patty. Ron Rademann is here. Well, we need your questions. Lines are open. 920-923-1450, 888-900-1450. Or if you do it the way Brian did, send some pictures or at least your question to kfizstudio@gmail.com. You talked about trees and drought, and before the show went on, Patty and I were discussing a little bit our gardens this year. Wow.
Yeah. If you're not watering your gardens, you're not going to get much out of them. So generally, I don't need to water, even if we go into a somewhat of a drought, but because I mulch everything. But this year is very different. It's so dry right now, and the heat coming along is very detrimental to anything that wants to produce a fruit. So water.
The other thing, there's supposedly a 70% chance of rain for tomorrow night. That's, whether it rains or not, that's not going to do much good. So, if you're deciding what you should do here over the weekend, I'd still water today. My sprinkler's running on in my yard right now because that little bit of rain that we may or may not get, and 70% isn't much of a guarantee. And typically, at this time of year, even if it does rain, it dries up within a day. So if it does rain tomorrow night or Monday morning, by Monday night, we're going to be right back in the same boat.
And if we get these high volume rain thunderstorms, it washes away because everything's so dry.
Right. Runs right off.
Yeah, it kind of wicks right out even, when it's this dry. If we get rain on the surface, it just doesn't do much good because it dries right out. There's just so much dry soil right underneath the surface even. So it soaks down, but it doesn't really do much good because it isn't enough moisture. And sometimes it greens up the grass, gives you a little false sense of security, and kind of gives you a little reprieve from the garden for a day or two, but it doesn't really help you out long term. And that's where this rain that we may or may not see Sunday night into Monday, well, it's going to be 90 today and 90 tomorrow.
And Monday.
Yeah, and then upper 80s for the 10-day outlook is pretty much mid 80s throughout, and there isn't much of a chance of rain in the after this.
No.
So
20% Thursday and Friday is what they're saying at the National Weather Service. And
yeah,
that's
20,
nothing.
20%. There's a 20% chance of rain somewhere, everywhere, every day. But so chances are that's not going to materialize. Mm-hmm.
What we need is a good old-fashioned day of just a nice, steady rain.
Yeah. Well, put your order in, see if it happens.
I've had it in. Obviously, nobody listens to me.
Well, and that's why I'm watering today, because I thought, well, if I'm watering today and we do get rain tomorrow night, that'll soak in good then between. And if it doesn't rain tomorrow night and or Monday, well,
You watered.
Then I at least watered. I kind of like to keep my lawn green and growing. I'm not a big believer in letting it so-called go dormant and letting the weeds grow. Let's put it that way.
Well,
because it doesn't really. The drought kills your grass, but it doesn't kill the weeds, and
Never.
all you end up with is more of a problem than a. So to me, watering once in a while is easier than trying to deal with weeds and dead patches of grass. So
if it's already dormant, though, it doesn't make a lot of sense to start giving it water. It just let it be dormant and water the things that really definitely need it, like your vegetable garden and your newly planted trees and shrubs and things like that. A lawn, it can handle going dormant for a few weeks.
Well, and my sprinklers don't just water the lawn. I'm watering my perennial beds along the edge of the lawn, and they're getting the trees at the same time. And so you're kind of getting the whole package. It doesn't, you could throw the garden hose on and just water just the tree. Well, then you got a green spot of lawn right around your tree, and the rest of your lawn is brown. Well, then you don't know should you be mowing or not, because you got to mow the circle around your tree.
But if they have if they have to pay a huge water bill to water grass, I don't recommend that. I don't recommend that.
Well, you have to decide what you're, everybody, I don't tell people how to spend their money. Some people spend it on water, and some people go out to dinner, and some people go on vacation,
And some lucky people do all the above.
Right.
923-1450. If you have any questions, give a shout. And email-wise, kfizstudio@gmail.com.
Yeah, and a lot of people are out in the country, too. You have a well, you're not paying for water. I have a separate hookup on so I don't pay the sewer tax water bill on mine, because I knew I was going to be watering through the summer months. So, then water only costs you 20 or 25% of what it does if you don't have that separate meter attached to you for watering. So that's in the city water. So, if you are doing a lot of watering, yard watering, gardening or lawn or trees and things like that, it definitely pays to have that separate meter on there. It doesn't take long. All it takes is usually 1 or 2 months and it'll pay for itself in no time.
Mm-hmm. Just contact City Water Department and they will handle it.
There's like an exemption meter. It just kind of tracks your water. You're going to need a plumber will have to do a hookup for you also, and then it's like a bypass meter. It bypasses the the water meter coming into the house that gauges all your water. So, yeah.
That's probably what we have out at the community gardens as far as a meter.
Oh,
because-
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because out there you wouldn't have to pay, sewer
Right.
the sewer charges on it because the water isn't going back through the, treated. It isn't
system.
treated at, through the sewage treatment facility. So then you don't have to pay for that expense of it.
Yeah.
So
And
I don't
they're
remember.
going through a lot of water, believe me.
I'll have to
bet.
look at my bill next time. I never paid that much attention to it, but you're only paying about 25% or a third, for the water. If you're not, the sewer charge on it is somewhere
The bigger
between
expense,
2/3 and
yeah.
3/4 of your bill.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. We learned something else new today.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you are using a lot of water, outside water, then go ahead and get that installed.
When you talk about mulching the garden,
Mhm.
what are you talking about? Depth and type of mulch? I mean, I know you've said you use newspaper, I think, a lot.
Either that. Well, you don't find it so easily anymore.
Well, that's the problem.
I've gone to cardboard, and just a single layer of cardboard down. It's just to block the light, because then the weeds won't they can't germinate without light. So, and then I throw grass clippings and different, even some of the weeds that I do collect on top of the cardboard to keep it in place from the wind, and then it keeps the moisture in the soil and it keeps it cooler, which is both things that you probably could use in your vegetable garden right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't do that for my other perennials and things like that. I'll mulch them, but not with the cardboard underneath.
Well, you're in the garden. You have rows,
Yes.
so you can put the cardboard in between the rows.
Right.
But you can't really do that in a perennial bed.
Nope.
For the most part, that part doesn't work.
Right.
Unless you're really creative with the scissors
No, that's
and puzzles.
too much work. Too much work.
Yeah.
But it does make a big difference. I don't generally have to water most of the summer, but
This year is the
this year's
exception.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, the cardboard or corrugated board is probably what it technically is. I have friends over at International Paper, and they continually correct
us.
me.
Yes.
And so when you get a box, delivered today, and you cut the box apart, and that's corrugated board technically, and then you just, you can reshape that into whatever you want, and then, like Patty said, just a light layer of grass clippings or straw or marsh hay or anything like that holds it down. And once you get it wet, it stays there. And what's nice about it is it kind of lasts for a season, and then you can rototill it right in. You don't have to clean it out of there come fall. You just rototill it right in with the rest of, your garden debris, let's just say.
Yeah. With it, it kind of disintegrates unless it's a really dry summer. Then it doesn't. Not so much, but usually by fall, for sure, we'll have enough moisture and everything to come and help dissolve it. Once in a while, there's pieces of tape that were used on the edges where you cut it open, and I'll have pieces of tape when I go and rototill the garden.
Yeah, they don't disintegrate.
No, that doesn't.
Ever.
Right.
Well, and that's right. You can peel that off before using it initially too, or
Yeah.
depends how the work comes at one point in time or the other. So you have to just decide what works the best. Yeah.
A few weeks back, you mentioned don't trim bushes or anything really when it's this hot. My bushes are going nuts, and because it's been so hot, I haven't trimmed them. Should we just keep letting them go until it cools down a little bit and do some trimming?
Well, I trimmed my Japanese yews last week a little late. I always kind of recommend trimming them the first part of July, and it was the middle of July, but that's just kind of the way it works. Sometimes around the yard, if you're busy one week, you have to put things, either do it a week early or a week late. So, and right now it wouldn't really hurt to shear back spireas and things like that.
What about, I did my mock orange right after it was done.
Yeah, that would be good timing,
because it looks really bad right now.
Well, and that's kind of part of the problem is if you trim them back right now, it really does help them if you water them, because they aren't going to grow. You shear them back, you cut them back, you trim them, and without water, then they're kind of dormant. They aren't going to, more than likely, they aren't going to die because they've been established for several years in most cases. But if you do want them to grow back out and reflower, then you do have to, irrigate them, water them. So, I sheared back my spireas at the same time and there too. And that's kind of one of the reasons I water, because, I don't like looking at all those clipped tips. I want them to kind of grow past that, so I don't have to look at all that. So
yeah.
Alrighty, lines are open for you. If you got any questions, 920-923-1450, 888-900-1450. And again, that email works, kfizstudio@gmail.com. If you can, send a picture or three.
And it's still okay to use like your water-soluble fertilizers here yet for the next few weeks yet. Kind of keep that in mind. Don't wait another 2 or 3 weeks to use those. You got to get, if you're going to water and fertilize with water soluble, mix it with water and apply your fertilizer that way. Then you should water initially and then apply the fertilizer and then water again.
Yeah.
And
because otherwise it'll just burn the root system if it's totally dried out area that you're fertilizing.
So again, watering.
Water.
Alrighty. Let's take break 2.
All right. We'll take a little break. Again, Rademann's open today, Saturday morning until noon, Monday through Friday till 4:30, and you can still get a delivery today unless Joe filled up in the last 45 minutes or an hour. 920-922-7612.
We are back. Landscape Smart, brought to you by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company. Master Gardener Patty with us. Ron Rademann is here, and we have a caller. Good morning. You are on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning. Hey, Ron, I have I had a row of ash trees, like 7 of them, right on my boundary line, right on my little picket fence area. And, years ago, the ash borer got them, killed them all. So I cut the trees off and left like a 4 or 5 foot stump. And, I got growth coming out of there like crazy. The branches grew out, and I'm telling you, I got an ash bush. It's awesome. You wouldn't believe it. And they look healthy. And is the ash borer going to come back and get them again?
Yes, it will.
Yeah, unfortunately, it will. And, when we look through history, what you're going to do is you're going to find that ash trees have become large bushes rather than trees, because as they die off, that's exactly what happens. Because the emerald ash borer attacks the main stem and the main branches and kills the tree that way, but it doesn't kill off the root system. So as you cut that top back off, you still have the root system that will still grow back. And the way the emerald ash borer works is it kind of needs the crevices in bark for it to lay its eggs. So what's going to happen is those branches and you're going to end up with 15 or 20 foot ash trees, ash bushes, let's just say, until those stems get large enough for the borers to lay new eggs and get after them too. And then the process is going to happen once again. So unfortunately, you're going to have, and then you you'll have a bigger mess to deal with 5 or 6 years from now than what you did the first time, because you've got all these stems. So I would start working your way through there right now and sawing those off and getting rid of them and applying a chemical to it to kill off the root system, because otherwise it's a continual process of dealing with it. And like you said, you've got a kind of a fence line, brush line, and it'll definitely, then you'll have all these intertwined dead branches mixed in with new live branches of ash, so it really becomes a problem. So,
well, yeah, I'll probably maybe trim it off this winter or next spring, because it makes a great privacy border too.
mm-hmm.
It's so thick you can't see through it. Another question I've got, Ron, is the Japanese beetles. I mean, we had a problem here for a while, and now they seem to be. We don't see them. Is that something that's going to come back, or are they gone, or what's that?
They're all over my yard. I don't know why. I don't know why they're not visiting you, but I've got them like crazy.
She'll share with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, sometimes if you can get rid of the ones in your yard, then they have to just find their way back over there again. So, the best, if you've gotten rid of them, you're probably clear for a few years. It takes them a couple years to repopulate and build up their numbers again. But unfortunately, I'd say, yeah, you're probably going to see them back, but maybe not for a couple years again.
Oh,
so,
okay. Well, that's good.
So,
all right. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We just love listening to you guys, just giving us all this highly classified free information.
Appreciate the call. Good luck with your ash. Ashes. Whatever. Sounds like
go there.
Sounds like a show for the crematorium or something.
Yeah.
Lines are open, 920-923-1450, 888-900-1450. Email is kfizstudio@gmail.com. And as long as we got a moment here without a call, let's take our final break.
It's a good time for that.
I
Sure.
thought so.
Again, Rademann's open till noon today, Monday through Friday till 4:30. And we're just located just 3 miles south of Fond du Lac and then east on County B, a quarter mile right there at the crest of the hill.
All righty, we'll be right back. We got a caller on hold, and you could be next. Give us a call. Hi, Mike. We are back. Landscape Smart, brought to you by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company. We had another caller coming in. With this phone system, we can only handle one call at a time. So after this caller is done, you can give us a call back. And good morning. You're on the air. You there?
Good morning.
Hi.
Hi. I have a question, and this happened 2 years in a row. Planted kohlrabi from seed,
Okay.
and all what came up is the leaves. It never got a kohlrabi on it. A lot of deep roots and just leaves, and it was organic seed that I used. And the same thing happened to my brother.
So what time of year did you plant these seeds?
Spring, right after,
Like-
right when you could, probably.
April, May? May?
Yeah, beginning of May.
Well, I
But
think
it happened 2 years in a row. So is it the seed or?
no. It's probably the the fact that you need to start them earlier indoors, and then take plants and put them out in May, because once the seed comes out in May and it gets really hot outside, they're gonna not produce the root system, the bulb, or whatever,
The fruit.
Yeah.
the fruit to harvest, because
Yeah, 'cause
it's just
all it is leaves.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like 8 to 10 inches tall and nothing to show for it.
they
So
will
I just pull them out and pitch them,
right. They won't produce if it gets really hot. That's
Well, and
their
it was
thing.
really, we had a very hot, dry May this
did.
year. So it was almost like right when you would have planted them, or
Sure.
within a week or 2 or 3 after that.
Yeah, they came up real nice,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
nothing. And last year the same thing happened. I don't remember what the weather was last year,
But you
I
can
was wondering if it was the seed, because I've always planted kohlrabi seed, and I could transplant them, if they were too crowded, or I just
Sure.
let them go, and they produced, great.
it's the heat that they don't like. So you
Oh,
got to
okay.
try and get those seeded earlier, so that when you do plant them in the garden, it's not so boiling hot out like it was.
Yeah, okay.
And then
It's just strange that, and it happened to my brother too. It's like,
yeah,
wow, what's going on here? If the seed is bad, or
it was hot at
Oh,
his
okay.
house too.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And I watered them and everything,
Sure,
Well,
sure.
they came up real nice, but just
Well-
nothing to show for it.
everything
So,
that's a brassica family like that, if it gets really hot, when they're very small seedlings or just starting to grow, they're going to bolt and they won't turn into anything.
And even
Okay.
the soil temperatures got hot so quick.
Yeah.
And that's probably
Yeah.
it, as much as the air temperatures,
Right.
because
okay.
obviously they're only rooted down a couple inches at that point in time. So
Yeah.
they're
I'll have to put an
susceptible.
umbrella on them next year. So.
Right.
All righty. Well, good luck next year.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for the call. 923-1450. If that other person wants to give a call right now, line is open. We can take your call
If you call quickly.
because we're running out of.
Again, if you tuned in late, you can listen to us on KFIZ on demand, or otherwise go to YouTube and subscribe to Landscape Smart 26, and you'll get a notification every week when the show becomes available to re-listen to.
Makes it easy. Morning, you're on the air.
Okay, I got a question on mulching around trees.
Mm-hmm.
How far up on the what am I going to say, on the,
The trunk.
should you have bark?
No, not at all. That's very
Yeah.
bad for the trunk. You got to pull it away, put it around the tree like a donut, so it doesn't touch
Yeah.
the trunk.
Yeah,
I've been
instead
telling
of
you guys
piling it
that.
so high
Yep.
and up against the trunk, spread it out a little further and get it further out into your yard. A lot of trees, as I drive through the countryside, they only have a 2-foot circle, a foot high of mulch, around.
Like a volcano.
Yeah, and you want to be out further where those feeder roots are, and then a couple inches is really enough. You don't need to have, as a matter of fact, if you have 4 or 5 or 6 inches of mulch, you're smothering that root system. So just a couple inches deep, and then do a larger circle out 3-4 feet would be more important than having it 4 or 5 or 6 inches deep, especially right up around the trunk, like Patty mentioned.
That's
So-
kind of, it would be, what do they call it, girdling it? If you get too much on there, you're kind of killing
You kill the
Killing the
bark.
bark?
You kill the bark.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah, well,
much.
this year it probably wouldn't happen so much, but if you get a wet year, then you run the risk of it literally rotting that bark away because it's holding that moisture. You want the bark to be dry, not where it can, where there's a potential for fungus and things like that. So yeah, no bark touching the trunk, and even even if you have a little 2, 3, 4, 5 inches of right around the tree where there's no bark mulch, that's okay. It's more important to have it out a little bit further. So leave a 6 or 12-inch circle around your tree where there is no mulch, and then spread it out a little further.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
yeah, no, it's a good
That's
question.
the answer I want. I hope these other guys hear it, because I've been telling them you can't have the bark so high on the tree. Oh, I don't want to cut the grass. You're not cutting grass up there.
No, you're not.
They got like a foot up on the tree.
No, that's really bad.
No. Well,
Yeah.
there's one maple tree died already, and they cut it down. And I said, well, you're going to kill the rest of them if you keep that up.
Yep.
Well,
You're
and
telling
that's
them the
just
right
it.
thing.
It's kind of a lot of times you'll get a warning sign, and that's what people say. Well, how come that tree died and the rest didn't? Well, the rest will too.
Yeah.
If you
Give them another year or two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if one has
Okay.
a problem, the rest are right behind it.
All righty. Well, good luck with it. We're out of
All right,
showtime.
thank you.
Thanks for the call. And the music is playing.
Yeah. So we zipped right by once again. Subscribe to us on YouTube, or you can check us out on KFIZ on demand. Visit Rademann's today, Saturday morning until noon, or Monday through Friday till 4:30.
All righty. And we thank Master Gardener Patty. Our thanks to Ron. And as always, our thanks to you for your calls, your questions, and your emails.